Support WrestleTalk!
Hello and welcome to the first one of these of the new year. New Year's resolution for this series. I realise it doesn't really need an intro because I don't have to lay out any context. It's the same format every week. So I'm Adam from WrestleTalk, and here are this week's 10 wrestling news stories you may have missed. Number 1, problems backstage in AEW. During AEW's 3 years of existence, the overwhelming majority of stories coming out of the behind-the-scenes environment of the company have been positive, with talent allowed to voice their opinions on their characters, work with Tony Khan on stories, and it just generally seems like a nicer place to be. A prime example of this would be Brody Lee's tribute show, where we also saw a backstage video of Eddie Kingston's rousing speech to the entire locker room. However, cracks are now starting to show in AEW's backstage environment, with Big Swole, whose contract wasn't extended after the expiration date came nearer, criticizing the company for its lack of meaningful showcasing of black athletes, to which Tony Khan didn't exactly have the best response, dismissing her legitimate and professionally highlighted concerns with her "you didn't wrestle well enough." It wasn't the best look, but despite the flowery nature with which fans have looked at AEW's locker room so far, it seems the more realistic side of things is coming out, as Cody Rhodes mentioned in a recent interview with Fight in Focus that AEW has its own egos and problems, people not liking each other. In fairness, he did then mention that despite this, it's the most team-like backstage atmosphere he's been a part of, but it's still a shift from the narrative we've heard since AEW's inception, where everyone gets along and everyone is happy all the time. And speaking of things being more realistic, number 2, Cody Rhodes regrets Anthony Ogogo feud. Do you remember last year when Anthony Ogogo was being built up for weeks and weeks and weeks with a gut punch finisher that KO'd opponents, and then Cody took that same punch in their match at Double or Nothing, then he just got up like it was a normal punch? Good times. The Ogogo versus Rhodes feud has been one of the most high-profile failures of AEW's tenure, with fans lambasting Cody for not putting over Ogogo, going full Homelander with it. And also there was that little promo he made about race relations, which was, let's just call it, ill-advised. But it's okay, guys. Cody now admits that the promo in particular wasn't a good idea. In an interview with Brandon Walker on the Barstool Wrestling podcast, Cody said, "I regret almost everything about the Anthony Ogogo angle. A white guy talking about race relations who has an American flag tattoo on his neck. I can see why people would use the term as tone deaf when it came to that. It set the angle in a tailspin where it just wasn't a classic USA versus UK fun-spirited deal. I was going to go over to the UK and have the return match. Now I just never want to think about it again." Neither do we, Cody. Neither do we, but at least you're self-aware, and you've taken that self-awareness into current times. You're not ignoring what the fans say and do anymore, right? Please. Number 3, Wyatt family reunion. While the vast majority of wrestling fans wait with bated breath to see what Wyndham Rotunda, the former Bray Wyatt, will be doing next in the wrestling world after his release from WWE last July, it's a couple of the other former members of his stable that made the headlines this week. Eric Redbeard, the former Eric Rowan, who was released from WWE in April 2020, and Adam Scherr, the former Braun Strowman, who was released from WWE in June 2021, will be reuniting for the first time since their Wyatt family days. The duo will be teaming up at Northeast Wrestling's WrestleFest 26 show later this month, taking on the team of Bully Ray and Enzo, the former Enzo Amore. Just one bit of advice for Bully Ray and Enzo: run. Number 4, Okada versus Danielson and CM Punk. Yes, please. In the lead up to this past week's Wrestle Kingdom 16, the new IWGP heavyweight champion Kazuchika Okada was doing the press rounds and mentioned in an interview with Sports Illustrated that he wants to face Bryan Danielson and CM Punk. Yes, bloody please. Saying that he wants to continue to tease these dream matches but not wait too long for fear of them retiring, Okada made it pretty damn clear he wants these matches before long. With New Japan talent already working AEW shows in the form of Rocky Romero, Minoru Suzuki, Kenta, and more, good God, we might actually be getting Okada versus Danielson and Okada versus Punk. CM Punk added fuel to the fire by calling out Okada on Twitter, giving him the address to the United Center in Chicago. My God, CM Punk versus Okada in Chicago. I want these matches very badly, please. CM Punk has said in months past that the number one guy he wants to face from New Japan would be Okada. And now Okada says he wants to face CM Punk as well. All the pieces are there. Just please make it happen. Please. Number 5, Goldberg believes his legacy has been tarnished. It's time for the Nadoy story of the week, as Goldberg revealed in an interview with Sports Illustrated he believes his in-ring return and WWE return has tarnished his legacy a little bit. You think? Crazy how having not one, but 2 of the most universally disliked matches of all time, insertion into title matches above other full-time wrestlers highlighting WWE's over-reliance on stars of the past, doing a promo in front of a painting of him bicep curling a baby, and the Gorg incident will tarnish a legacy like that. Goldberg mentioned it every time he gets between the ropes. He runs the risk of ruining that legacy he's cemented. But in the very same interview, he then said he doesn't like looking back. He doesn't like it when things end, and he's always looking for the future and what comes next. And if WWE want to extend his contract for more matches, they'll talk Self-Awareness 100. As long as we don't get the terrible booking of Goldberg versus The Fiend or the frankly dangerous wrestling of Goldberg versus The Undertaker, then sure, Gorg, go ahead and have more matches, just not against champions, and not for more than a few minutes. Number 6, more than 3 million people watch WWE on Peacock. But I guess bringing Goldberg back every so often works or something, because it was revealed this week via Matthew Bologna of Park that over 3 million Peacock subscribers have watched WWE content since it became available to watch on the platform last March. The report also stated that over half those viewers signed up for Peacock because of WWE, and that of the 1.1 million WWE Network subscribers, 1 million of them successfully converted to Peacock, and that is one hell of a conversion rate. But do they have a pause button yet? That's the real question. A big success for WWE for the Peacock acquisition then. So the only question is, how long before WWE sells up entirely to Disney? Number 7, Shinsuke Nakamura wants WWE and New Japan to cooperate. New Japan Pro Wrestling is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year, but former 5-time IWGP Intercontinental Champion and 2-time IWGP Heavyweight Champion Shinsuke Nakamura won't be able to take part in it due to that pesky thing called WWE. Nakamura was recently interviewed by Tokyo Sports, where he expressed his desire to be part of the festivities, but due to COVID, travel restrictions, and also WWE not letting him, he can't. He mentioned that he wished WWE and New Japan Pro Wrestling could cooperate, but understood that even if he could negotiate an appearance at their anniversary show, travel restrictions would make it very difficult. Also, there's the fact that New Japan has been working with AEW, and WWE probably don't like that kind of thing. But also, Walter versus Minoru Suzuki, that could please, maybe WWE should work with New Japan. Please. Number 8, New Japan on Access. In some more good news for New Japan, though, it was announced at Wrestle Kingdom 16 this past week that the company will be returning to Access with a new weekly series. From March, new episodes will be aired on the platform, with Impact Wrestling being a lead-in for the shows on Thursday nights. Before March, Access will be broadcasting old episodes of New Japan, including the first episode on January 12th featuring the Chris Jericho vs. Kenny Omega United States title match from Wrestle Kingdom 12. Crikey. Number 9, The Rock's XFL. Man, the XFL has had a rough old time of it, hasn't it? After its relaunch in 2020, the entire season was scrapped after just 5 weeks due to the pandemic, and everyone involved in it was released from their contracts. However, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, along with longtime business partner Danny Garcia and Redbird Capital, all purchased the XFL and are working on yet another relaunch of the league. Third time's the charm. Rocky provided an update on this relaunch on social media, saying that starting in 2023, they're going to be holding XFL training camps, saying that XFL players will be the hardest and hungriest workers in the room, and that they're building their one-of-a-kind XFL culture. XFL is watching. Buzzwords. Talent scouts are out and about looking for the best players they can find for the relaunch, and I can tell you where they are, Rocky. They're in the NFL. Probably. And number 10, premium live events. And as always, let's try and end on something a bit silly and lighthearted. WWE have stopped calling their monthly big shows pay-per-views, and now they're called premium live events. That's it. It's the whole story. Honestly, with WWE's track record of terribly naming things, looking at you, the most stupendous 2-night WrestleMania in history, the horror show at Extreme Rules, the greatest wrestling match ever at Backlash, and the Slam Cycle vehicle, this one actually isn't that bad, considering their monthly shows aren't really pay-per-views anymore with various streaming platforms and the like. This change is actually probably overdue, but that's not that funny, so laugh at WWE and their silly naming of things. Premium live events. What a wacky company. And that's our list. What's your favorite bit of news from this past week? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to WrestleTalk for more up-to-the-minute wrestling news, and make sure you make WrestleTalk.com your homepage in 2022. Happy New Year, everyone, and jam that jam.